and they've both been regarded at various points as the finest potters in the game. They've got very similar careers in many respects, both of them over 20 world ranking titles. What you do know is that these two, in keeping with the champion of champions, are two of the best in the business.
Have a good game, Neil.
It would be hard to argue with that, Phil. The other thing, of course, is more recently they've both won ranking events this season, and there haven't been that many. Mark winning when he didn't seem to be completely, full of practice in August in the British Open, and of course Neil Robertson, the English Open winner from just last week. So they're bang in form.
Thank you. The first frame, Neil Robertson to break.
Yes, and the other similarity is that they're not really bedded into the season yet in many respects, because Robertson missed the first couple of events, got married, so the Championship League and British Open weren't on his agenda. And of course, as Jill has explained, because of COVID-19, Mark Williams had to miss a qualifying tournament for the European Masters and also the recent English Open. So his momentum in danger of being interrupted.
Yes, it's a fair point you make, because actually his form was excellent prior to that. Not only in winning the British Open, but he did everything but beat John Higgins in Northern Ireland. Don't quite know how he lost that match. He was well in front. Got through in German Masters before he was put on the sideline. So everything he's done has been good. And yes, there's a doubt about him today, but there was doubts about him actually in August. He'd had problems with gout. The two things are very different, comparing the two. But in adversity, he usually finds something.
Yeah, absolutely correct. Of course, you would make Robertson favourite, but Williams not without a chance.
Can we please make sure all the phones are switched off?
I think on the head-to-heads, which I was just looking through earlier, Robertson's had the better of things. But of course, in recent years, Williams' career, when he won the World Championship again, it went up a few notches from a few years that had gone before, and he was losing to players like Robertson. And ultimately, it's a best-of-7 frame match, which means that anything can happen when you get players this good. That's an excellent safety shot. That is absolutely putting Mark Williams in all sorts of trouble there with that shot. And it looked as if it was just a question of getting the cue ball onto the cushion, but he's done better than that. He's covered all the reds. He's in real trouble here. It's one of those where he's got a clear shot at reds. It's not the issue, but the reds he wants to have a clear shot are the ones he's snookered behind. The black's on as well, so I mean, he just can't afford to leave anything on here. The table could not be better for scoring, so that really was a tremendous defensive shot there from Robertson. Got an all-round game. We know how well he pots, but at this level you've got to have the other side to your game. I haven't seen Mark Williams take this long on a shot for a while. He's already a minute 20 and he seems not that much closer to knowing which shot to play. He might be able to play it off one cushion onto the red near the pocket, but the red's far enough away from the pocket to make that a difficult shot to get anywhere near. I think the double kiss was certainly a concern. He's given a chance away. He's in big trouble there, goodness.
Yeah, I think Williams pretty much had to leave a red. Mind you, where he did leave Robertson could have been a whole lot worse.
An excellent shot, and it's exactly what he played. Obviously, the safety aspect of it was there, but advantage Williams. I think the one thing about Mark Williams is he knows it's a tough game, but as you heard him say, he also knows he can win. He's not frightened of anyone. I don't think he lets his opponent bother him too much. He's not playing the person sitting in the chair. He's experienced enough to know it's what he achieves on the table.
He went through a spell, Neil, where, and who knows, he might still adopt this philosophy, that in the odd frame that he was involved, which went down to a respotted black, he tried to cut in the black off each spot. Now, the opening red here, it was easier than that, but it was of the same kind of ilk.
12.
And now, what a good chance.
13. $20. 21.
I think conditions look absolutely perfect today. There was a suggestion that when the table was brand new yesterday, the cushions are not really bouncing away from the cushions as you'd like. They were a little soft. But after a day, the table will settle in and it looks a beautiful surface. Conducive to top play, and then we saw that with Judd Trump last night, how much
29.
better he played, having had some time on the table.
$36. 37.
It's a very dangerous occupation, writing Mark Williams off at any given time, in any given place, when he's playing snooker. The most recent of his 3 world titles tell us that. Who would have thought going there
42.
before the 17 days at the Crucible began, he was going to be the one lifting the trophy, but in the end, he did so having played brilliantly, and in my opinion, in terms of quality and drama combined, he won the greatest ever world final.
Thank you. 43.
There's been more drama, there's been more quality, but not meshing the two together. That was just one of the most extraordinary matches I've ever seen.
Just a little bit worried about where the pink will go when respotted here. That's what he's just studying. Will it go on its own spot or no others available below the spot? I suppose he would probably prefer it to go below. Just frees up the 2 reds in open play a little. And he's banking on it now because it has to go below. Otherwise, if it goes on its own spot, then he's not on the ready he's played on.
One moment, please.
Yeah, he'd be relieved to see this from referee Tatiana Wollaston.
$49.
50.
50.
Well, that's perfectly played again. It's looks an easy shot, but when you finish there, your route onto the next red is absolutely as easy as it gets. It's all about controlling the cue ball. And I think the other thing about where the pink ball is now, it actually works in his favour because he might be able to land on it just off straight and
55.
open up the remaining reds from that ball, depending on how straight he's on this red. Well, he certainly would like to play on the pink. As it happens,
56.
he didn't have quite the angle to land in behind it. He has looked to see if there's a plant of any description in there as well. So he's spotted one, hasn't he? Don't need to break the reds up if they're going to open themselves up.
63.
Yep, well spotted.
64.
Annoyed that he's finished there on the blue, but 68. The break, 69 the lead.
69.
Yeah, break of 69, so the snooker already required. But only one.
Can't imagine, given Mark's vast experience and his respect for Robertson, he'll be doing anything outlandish.
Mark Williams,
Well,
69.
that underlines the point you've made because he's played a good safety shot. Okay, there's one long red available, which Robertson probably has to have a go at. What a good shot.
1.
The speed he played it, or lack of speed, I thought he'd like to play that with a bit more pace. But of course, holding for the black, he had no choice. So, twofold here. One, clearly he's going to try and get the snooker, but also,
8.
if that fails, he's getting some table time.
9.
The normal plan of attack here in this kind of situation, when one snooker's needed, is to get the snooker in behind the pink. That, of course, though, is assuming the pink's on its spot, which here it most certainly isn't.
16. 17.
So it'll be one
20.
snooker because he clearly isn't going to take a low value colour here. Certainly he wouldn't want to.
$25.
It's a bit of an annoyance that the pink is away from its spot because clearly often it's on its spot at this stage and just play the most simple snooker and behind it from the last red. And I guess he doesn't even have to leave the red on the table. He can try and get the snooker perhaps later on, given that, it, as we were saying, it is
32.
one only.
33.
Often a player somewhere in bulk with the cue ball to get a snooker on the yellow behind something else. Up at the other end of the table is a pretty good spot to be in. Well, that's okay.
40.
Not quite what he's looking for.
He went through a period around this time last season, actually, where Robertson won a whole bunch of frames after requiring 1, 2 or even 3 snookers. This frame is far from over.
Neil Robertson, 40.
Well, he's just overrun that. I don't think Mark Williams will be too much troubled by this, because on a bad day you'd hit the yellow and knock the black into the left middle. We just double check that that's not on. It's always worth checking in advance. But now that's made it even more appealing, I think. Fill the table, the black going near the brown. You're looking for a little target to get the ball in behind, and it's even bigger now.
Yes, you touched on a really salient point a little earlier, Neil. The mindset when you need 1 snooker is very different from when you need a snooker with a free ball attached, something like that. Robertson's right in this, and this is a tough shot. Played well.
Yes, it's not impossible. He could take the yellow here and try and get the snooker on the green, because the green's not helping him as much as where the brown and black are. I'm not sure he's got the angle. I think he will. I don't think he'd want to be putting too many more balls. He could take the green, I suppose, and then lay the snooker behind the black on the brown, but it is taking away quite a big area to get snookers behind. I think where he's landed, it might be that's his option.
Five.
So he should get the snooker. It's a question of how difficult he can make it.
Neil Robertson, 5.
Of course, we've already seen in this tournament a frame 1 when someone requires a snooker on the brown. That was Judd Trump yesterday against David Lilley in the first match of the opening group. Got the snooker on the brown, cleared up. The one major negative for Robertson is that Mark Williams is so savvy around the table.
All of a sudden the table's not quite so appealing now for getting the snooker. I think there's an argument that the pink ball is the one you'd aim to get behind now. The other two are just too far in the middle of the table. So if Neil could just get an angle around the table in behind the pink, that's a possibility here. I think the shot is on. It has to be well played. That's what he's tried. Pace looks good anyhow. Wow, what a shot. I mean, that really is first class. Okay, the shot's on, that's one thing. Playing it is another.
There are snookers and snookers, and that is top bracket.
This reminds me so much of a shot he played in the World Championships where he actually didn't look at the ball he was trying to hit and he ended up potting it into one of the pockets, the top right. It was so similar to this shot that Williams had. I don't know if he'll do that this time, but he was end up looking at the ball he was trying to hit instead of looking at the cue ball. Bizarre. It's not easy. This is a very hard angle straight onto a cushion. Easily missed this. Came as no surprise to me.
Foul.
He doesn't want that in.
Neil Robertson, 4.
Goodness me. The wheel's fallen off.
That's a WCS. Worst case scenario. And of course, Robertson, well aware of the psychological damage he could do to Williams by winning the frame in this manner. He's a man known for piling up centuries, but winning a frame in this manner, stealing it, has far more impact than any century.
Just get himself in a bit of a tangle here. So many options open to him, he didn't know which one to take. Playing on the blue to the left middle, it seems to be the one.
4.
Oh, I think he'd like to have been a fraction straighter on this. Come around the back of the pink, it seems now. Well, again,
9.
I mean, you just couldn't put that ball any better with your hand. Played two really top-class shots here. The snooker was exceptional
16.
that he got, which gave him this chance, and that positional shot on the blue was very good as well, Phil.
Williams has done that kind of thing to many opponents over many years. A taste of his own medicine there. Robertson leads 1-0. What a frame to get things underway.
More great drama. That's a big tick from me. Trust a Trader, sponsoring ITV4 Daytime.
TrustATrader.com.
Sam here is a bit of a character. If he turned up at your back door, you'd probably take him in. He's been around the block a few times. But Sam's roving days are now over. His owner died, and he was left all alone in the world with nowhere to call home. He was living on the streets until someone cruelly shot him with an arrow.
Makes you in awe of them. That was wonderful. And when you trap Williams in a snooker like that, and you've got the three-time world champion scratching his head, you know you've played a good one.
Thank you. The second frame, Mark Williams to break.
He's a very laid-back character, Mark Williams. He can allow disappointment to basically wash away from him quicker than most. But that must have been quite a setback.
The amount of times that people come up and say, why do players carry on when they need a snooker? It's pretty hopeless calls, but now you know why, because he's got a big smile on his face. Not only because he won the frame. I think he's a little surprised that Williams didn't play the roll-up break there, which I think he was doing. If you're not going to do it against Neil Robertson, who pots everything, who would you do it against? Yes, it sets you off on a very bad footing, I feel, to lose a frame like that at any stage, but the first frame of a match. You know, you do wonder. And I guess he'll look back to getting the wrong side of the angle on the blue. He couldn't get to a red. He did nothing wrong, except for eventually make a mistake hitting the snooker he was in. It was not so much that. He didn't take liberties, I meant.
One.
The frame we've just seen, if it was a lower ranked, lesser experienced player than Williams, every chance of them crumbling. He might, of course, no one's immune to that, but I think he's better equipped to deal with it than most.
There's not a lot of room there, is there, to that red? You can see most of it. Can he see enough to pot it? It must be in some doubt. He looked at it 2 or 3 times. Yeah, that's a good view of it. I suspect he can get to it, but it is very close. It's all about the potting angle. Doesn't want to hit the other red on the way through, which he's close to doing. The other way, of course, he could play it with a trace of left-hand side, so it straightens up the angle a bit, but it's not a nice shot. Playing safe.
Mark Williams, 7.
I think all in all, when there's any degree of indecision, that's the best thing to do. We saw it yesterday in the Ryan Day-Stephen Maguire match. He looked at whether a red would go past another one into this top right-hand pocket, looked and looked and looked. Eventually, he took the shot on, caught it far too thick because he was thinking about maybe catching the red he was worried about, and it cost him.
Well, even the last shot of Robertson's was very good, wasn't it? He's completely blocked off 95% of the table here. Just one red he can get to, I think. And what can he do with that? Oh, I know what he tried. He tried to pot it and force the cue ball up the table. He didn't have any other options there. He got not very close to the pot, but he's under a lot of pressure there. Could be a plant that he's on. And certainly Neil has looked at those two reds. Not dead in line, but could be possibly made into one. The reds are a comfortable distance apart just to turn it around and make it into a set. Bit of a let off there. Williams will be pleased to be back at the table so quickly.
One.
Doubly qualified for this, Mark Williams. He won the WST Pro Series late last season, one of the most low-key world ranking tournaments I think there's ever been. But he won it nevertheless.
7.
And of course, to start the current campaign, won that six-figure sum as British Open champion.
Fourteen.
Ooh.
15.
Well, it's gone in off the wrong part of the pocket, the bottom jaw, but he played it fairly gently. Just fell in. Yeah, that British Open, I mean, it was a short format, best of fives, which of course we don't see a lot of that. And a lot of people didn't think it was going to be conducive to a good standard, or certainly anyone could win it. Ultimately, it was won by a 3-times world champion, so the cream still makes it to the top, doesn't it, of this game? Certainly when it comes to
20.
lifting trophies.
$23.
Taking nothing away from Williams, what was unusual about that British Open, he won 7 matches, beating Gary Wilson eventually in the final 6-4. He didn't beat anybody in the top 16 to lift the trophy.
27. 28.
'Well, given the last frame and the way it was won and lost, he'll know that this lead is nowhere
32.
near enough, not only because he's got more work to do, but he really would not want a repeat. So if he ever got to
30.
frame ball, then maybe 2 or 3 shots after that becomes frame ball. Just keep
Can you
potting
check your
them until
mobile
nothing's
phones,
left on the
please?
table. Deserves that red to bounce away. A little unfortunate there.
35.
It's just landed near the cushion. It's not an easy pot, but I don't think there's a lot wrong with this shot that he played. Great shot maker, isn't he? Unconventional.
36.
Any sort of shots, you see that he can find a way of keeping a break alive. He's one of those sort of players. He's always been like that, quite inventive. And just rolling that red in, getting down the table, knowing the green was away from his spot. He could land on that. And now he's back in.
39. $40.
As soon as the cue ball was going towards that side
47.
cushion, you just knew it hadn't got quite the amount of zip on it that he wanted. So the break ends at 47. Once again, Williams in a commanding lead. But after the shock of the first frame, he won't be
47.
taking anything for granted.
Just to note one thing then, in learning the game, he could have played safe of either of the reds that were on side cushions, but he chose not to. The easiest safety shot would have been to glance off that right-hand red, but he doesn't want to bring it into play. He saw that he wasn't overjoyed that the break ended when it did. Now he might have to play one of the safe reds now. He doesn't want to. The left-hand red he can get to. I'm not sure how the safety shot happens from it. But he wants to keep the balls near cushions with his lead in a way of protecting it. I think Robertson's safety has been pretty telling already in what we've seen here. Every time he's played a safety shot, his opponent has been in all sorts of trouble. Again, a little while, he's asking Tatiana Wollaston to just look at the line because he can just see, I think, a very thin edge of that bottom red. He wants Mark to, he wants Neil to look. I think all he's doing is saying, look, I can see one, and if I do miss it and it gets replaced, that's what I can see of it. Because it's a very difficult replacement if there is a foul where the balls are. I don't think he really had to ask Neil there. Tatiana Wollaston is very capable of replacing the balls. She's one of the better referees in the game, I think.
I would fully concur with that. I think she's excellent. Williams actually caught more of the red than I thought he could, and that's why he made a mistake, caught it too thick, and now Robertson's in to try and at least eat away at the deficit.
And move that other red here, Phil. Well, pushed it into a position which is not any good to him.
8.
Playing in that speed, Neil, I can only assume he thought he was going to contact the second red to dislodge it a little thinner than he actually did.
I have to confess, I was absolutely amazed he
9.
played the red he did, but he must have fancied it. It landed okay on the yellow. I think there's a part of him that half fancies pinching this frame because of what happened in frame 1. Sometimes
11.
the match will take a pattern. They've still got a long way to go here, though.
Yeah, I'm not saying he's going to pinch it. He's a decided second favourite, but if he does, I think in many respects it would hurt Williams more than the first.
Well, that's worked out very well. He might look at the red down the cushion here. I know he's on the one to the middle, and he's a left-hander anyway, so he could get behind it, but I suppose both reds are relatively safe. He's having a look at it. This would be a good red to get out of the way.
$20.
There's not a lot of protection that Williams has got from what's left on the table here. Even the red up on the right side, he's a left-hander. He can get that down the cushion. He's looking at that also. His lead is quite slender in this frame.
$27. $28.
Now, decision time. Does he play in behind the red? He perhaps had an angle to move it, but the red's that annoying distance away from the cushion, which might not make the cannon easy. He's finished in the worst place.
34.
Yes, it's potable, but well, you've got no real way of looking at the line of the shot. You've got a almost pocket you can't see from where he'll be queuing up. Might play it in such a way that you could get cover between the bulk colours if he misses it. He's hoping to get some protection here. Goodness me, this is
35.
going to hurt, isn't it? Mark Williams.
Well, that was a great camera shot and a great snooker shot. We knew the red was in before Robertson did.
$38. 40.
I said Williams could shrug off disappointments. This would take off the charts in terms of the disappointment it would yield. Every right to think he could be 2-0 ahead. Now,
43.
a very strong probability he's going to be 2-0 behind.
$47.
Yes, he needs all three here. Now, of course, he's got this fine. He needs to make sure that he
52.
does finish the job off. That looks absolutely perfect. His positional play has been to the millimetre, I would say. And this is
58.
incredible, these two frames. He really should be 2-0 down, Neil Robertson, but it's not going to be the case.
65. 5 in the frame.
The afternoon
Neil
here in
Robertson.
Bolton has begun with double daylight robbery. Winning the first frame after requiring a snooker, winning the second frame from nowhere with a wonderful clearance.
More great drama? That's just the job. Trust a Trader, sponsoring ITV4 Daytime.
TrustATrader.com.
I'm too sexy for my love, too sexy for my love, love's going to leave me. I'm too sexy for my shirt, too sexy for my shirt, so sexy it hurts. And I'm too sexy for Milan. Sexy for my... I'm too sexy for my love.
Cooker. No more waiting for the kettle to boil, no more waiting for a pan of water to boil. With a cooker in your home, you always have instant 100 degrees boiling water on demand. Did you know it's very easy to order a cooker online? Just visit cooker.co.uk and see how simple it is. A cooker provides you with hot, cold and 100 degrees boiling water as standard. Add the cube and enjoy the additional benefits of chilled, filtered and sparkling water as well. Imagine within 2 weeks your cooker system will be up and running, all installed by an approved cooker engineer who will demonstrate how simple and effective the cooker is to use. So order your cooker today and benefit from a reduced installation charge of £99 and 300 litres of sparkling water for free. 100 degrees boiling, hot, cold, and now also filtered, chilled and sparkling water. Go to cooker.co.uk and order now.
More great drama? That's a big tick from me. Trust a Trader, sponsoring ITV4 Daytime.
TrustATrader.com.
What a start to this match. What a start to the day. Neil Robertson is chock full of confidence after winning the English Open, and that's been apparent so far here. Not just stealing the first two frames, plundering them. The last red, the key to frame two. Mark Williams must be feeling that he's played two good frames and he's got absolutely nothing to show for them. Mind you, Neil, if memory serves me correct, you can empathise with Williams.
I lost 2 consecutive frames against Steve Davis with snookers needed. You can imagine that I didn't win that match because it's not the best thing for your chances. They weren't the opening 2 frames of a match, but it happened. Still Williams comes out potting ball, so...
1.
Look, if he can find a way of winning this match after all this, and it's clearly it's possible at 2-0 down, it's only a best of 7. But if he does win it, then he really has proved something, because both of those frames would have hurt immensely. It's been due to some very fine play, though, more so than his own error. Maybe he should have made more in frame 2.
5.
But the most minuscule of mistakes have been punished.
Six.
Yeah, in the first frame he came on the incorrect side of the blue, unlike here. That meant he could just dolly the blue in and be 69 ahead with 67 on. Had he been on the correct side of the blue and got an extra red, the frame would have been his. Small tolerances.
Eleven.
Well, as you can see, the red is very potable. It's not that. It's just a question of what happens with the black and maybe the red also to the left of the black. How's he going to bring them all into play? Deciding that he's not going to take that risk on the red near the black on this shot.
$12. $17. $18.
To keep the break going, he's going to take a good shot here. He'll play some sort of a cannon. Plain ball. Keep ball running up the table somewhat, but just get into either the red he's closest to or the edge of the bunch to bring something into play. Well, he's got a shot here. He's got a fraction too much of the red.
25.
Once again, Cuba running that's fractionally loose here, pulling this red.
Mark Williams, 25.
Yes, there wasn't much he could do. Obviously, missing the pot was the problem, but I think his mind was on the cue ball and where that was going to finish.
One.
And given the overall sharpness that Robertson's displayed, Neil, you would fancy him to make a few here.
Well, he said a very interesting thing, Phil, I thought, in the interview with Rob before the match, and it's something I hadn't really thought about, but of course he won the English the weekend before last, English Open, and so often in the recent history of the calendar of snooker, you go straight onto another event, the next day there's something new starts, players aren't quite ready to keep that run going, the edge comes off their game immediately, but he said he'd had a week at home, a week to rest, but then work on his game, so that's better than just walking straight into a new event starting the next day. We haven't got that all the time. We're in the middle of a long run where that is going to happen. As far as the English was concerned, it just gave him a chance to regroup.
Really good point, Neil.
11.
Worth saying, you know, in the history of the game, there have only been 11 players who've won back-to-back world ranking events. I know this isn't a ranking tournament, but it just goes to show how difficult it is to follow up on a recent win.
12.
Positional misjudgment.
Well, the calculations went astray there in a big way. I'm not entirely sure how he was playing that cannon.
Brown
Having
ball.
seen it, I'm still none the wiser.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. I had a look at it. Thank you. Brown
Well,
ball.
he's basically saying he can see the black, which wouldn't come into the equation yet, but it might do if he misses this twice.
Neil Robertson, 12.
Just dotting the I's and crossing the T's. One of those 11 players to win back-to-back ranking titles is the man taking on this red. Williams won the China Open, which was that year in Shanghai, then immediately flew out to Thailand and won the Thailand Masters. Great achievement.
I think Neil would love to roll this red down the cushion here. Playing it slowly. He knows it's not a certainty. You see what happens. A lot of people think these pockets are very big, but if they were, the players would just knock those in and not even think about them. It was never in, that shot. Played it slowly. But these players are so good, but those shots are still difficult.
One.
You get the feeling that Williams has to make the most of this.
Eight. Nine. 16. 17.
'Just getting in the red zone here, aren't we? Another frame that Williams should be about to win.
24.
This time he really has to ensure that there's no backlash, no twist in the tail.
$25. 30.
Pressure pot coming up now. He's at that point again. The frame almost secure, but not quite in the bag.
Yeah, not the best of cannons. I mean, it makes the red more difficult than it should be to the middle bag here. Very nice.
31.
His experience there, I think, counted for something. Just putting everything that's gone before to the back of his mind. No
33.
playing ball, but as I say, maybe 2 or 3 shots after. Pop those as well. And you
34.
can ensure that Neil Robertson will stay in his chair.
$40. 41.
In the light of what's gone on before, I think this is pretty impressive.
48.
Typical Williams. Made of stern stuff.
Mark Williams, 48 and different.
The miss there was too late to save Robertson's bacon. There will be no salvage operation in this frame. Williams gets his first on the board. Robertson still just ahead.
More great drama? That's just the job. Trust a Trader, sponsoring ITV4 Daytime.
TrustATrader.com.
At Simba, we've re-engineered the mattress with 10 unique hybrid layers. Save 45% in the Simba Black Friday sale.
You struggled with credit in the past, then you've come to the right place. Everyday Loans. Representative APR 99.9%. Apply now at everydayloans.co.uk.
When my mum said she didn't want a funeral, I was a bit confused. But then she told me she'd chosen a pure cremation plan. It's a brilliant alternative for people who don't want a traditional funeral. We get to celebrate her life the way she always wanted, but without the cost of a funeral director or fancy service. Pure Cremation have their own beautiful crematorium, and their lovely people will bring Mum's ashes home, all part of the service. Mum prepaid, so everything's sorted in advance. It's affordable with no hidden costs, guaranteed. Now we have peace of mind, we can get on with enjoying life. Isn't that right, Mum?
Yes, love. Give me a top up, will you?
Join the thousands of people who choose Pure Cremation every month. Call to request your free guide now on 0800 170 7444 or visit purecremation.tv. Pure Cremation, the freedom to choose.
Discover your family's part in history. Search millions of records including the World Wars, Tudor times and Victorian era. Start your free trial today at Ancestry.
More great drama? That's a big tick from me. Trust a Trader, sponsoring ITV4 Daytime.
TrustATrader.com.
Welcome back, everyone, to Bolton and the Kazoo Champion of Champions. What a strange match we're watching here. All of these statistics suggest that that man, Neil Robertson, should be behind. As it is, he's 2-1 in front. Mark Williams has a superior pod success rate.
Frame 4. Mark Williams.
He's got the highest break of the match so far, and he scored more points.
One.
Well, it must be queuing pretty straight, mustn't he? Because the whole thing was in a dead straight line.
A number of years back, Neil, there were some big billiards tournaments played in Bolton Town Hall. Tell you what, had that been in a billiards tournament and the white had gone in, that would have brought the house down. What a shot!
Yes, it's so in the jaws. You can only just get through to the black ball here. Strange shot to play,
Neil
really, wasn't it? I
Robertson,
mean,
1. Mark Williams, 7.
I don't know why you would even try to roll up behind the black, because it's the most simple get away off one cushion anyway. I don't know what he was thinking of.
Well, that was reminiscent of 9-ball pool when the break-off doesn't work and they play a push-out. Wow.
As I say, it was just a one cushion, so simple for Williams. Anyway, the 7 points may or may not come into it. I've enjoyed this match. It's in different frames, you know. It's great to see big breaks and all that, but close frames, frames stolen, it's kind of fun to watch as long as you're not on the receiving end. Just trying to drop into the bunch of reds here. With the red over the pocket, trying to protect that one. Possible stalemate here. I'm going to put that in early, that we might be racking these up in a moment, because with the red over the pocket, it could be that a little bit of eye contact between the players. A touching ball might give Williams a chance to play away from there. But I think the stalemate is not out of the question. Robertson maybe looking to get distance between the balls again here. He's playing the red away from the pocket, so that should allow the frame to continue.
One.
Terrific pot. Now the delicacy of rolling in behind the yellow is needed.
Neil Robertson, 1.
Is it quite delicate enough?
Yeah, I don't think it matters. I think you'll just be able to play this easy escape anyhow. Maybe not this time. Might need another go at it.
Foul. Nimis. Neil Robertson, 4.
It's such a tough shot, I know, but you need to be right up against the ball colour to make that particular nestle in effective.
Not quite. Wait. Rob, can you have a look if we can...
Wants the position of the cue ball to be checked, which I'm surprised actually, because I feel that this is pretty regulation. I know he's got to make an adjustment.
Unfortunately, because it's the TV people who run the replay, not ours.
Tatiana said it wasn't, the cue ball wasn't on the yellow spot. Mark seemed to think it was. It's Rob Spencer.
Fraction that way, but only very slight. Yeah, it looks good to me, that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Neil, thank you.
Now, I reeled off a series of statistics in which Williams led at the start of this frame. One statistic he is behind on. Safety success. 76% to 91% for Robertson.
One.
And I think, Neil, with the Australian in this kind of nick, you don't want to leave him anything.
He's very good on those shots. He's very still and hits through that ball in a very straight line. I mean, that's what the game is, clearly. They're all trying to do that. But it's not easy to do. quite a key shot to finish on the red, which he
6.
seems to be on. Goes past the black, then gets the blacks on its spot, gets everything happening for him here, potentially.
Seven.
The first frame, he's actually got in early in a frame, isn't it? I know he won the first two, but he's from miles behind in both. This is the first time he's really been at the table at the beginning of a frame.
14.
Yes, numerically, the
15.
comebacks in the first two frames were stark. He was 69-0 down in the first, 54 adrift in the second.
$20. $21. $28. $29.
Just to go up for the blue, he wants an angle to get down towards the reds. He looked at the line of the pink as well from there. So the pink it is, and
37.
probably up onto the brown spot. I suspect the pink will go. I'm not sure it goes on its own, but certainly the red at the right-hand side of the bunch is the one he'll play on.
$43.
As I say, then brown highest available. That's why it's up there.
$44.
Those five reds just pushed a little awkwardly now. I mean, they're in play, but not available. And you will need something of those to make the frame safe. So the lead is 50 points, red, black. And another red colour is what he requires.
52.
So the angle is there, just to nudge the five reds. I don't think it'll be into them at 100 miles an hour. I think it'll be a sort of gentle nudge to try and bring something into the open. Now he's crucially
59.
Is he on that red up the table? If he's not, it's not the most straightforward red to follow. Well, not on it, is he? I mean, he's not on it playing ball. Surely he's not. From the angle we saw. Yeah. So now there's just a little bit more to do here. This is a shot which could be missed. We've seen one or two of these missed. He's played the other red. Goodness, well, that wasn't so bad.
60.
Gave the impression he might have been on the red to the middle.
So Robertson is now 59 points ahead. Looking good for 3-1.
Yes, and what he's done, Phil, he's put this frame to bed, hasn't he, quite quickly, which Williams, unfortunately for him,
65.
couldn't do in frames 1 and 2.
66.
And now, Neil, our attention turns to a potential milestone. Neil Robertson chasing what would be his 800th century break in professional competition.
Yes, and he's a numbers man, isn't he? He loves all that. He's
73.
fully aware of how many he's made. Certain players over the years perhaps wouldn't know
74.
all the detail. I suspect the man he's playing was never interested in centuries, because there was a time when he didn't really go out of his way when he got to 75, 80. That's Williams, but Robertson, he's a
81.
man who follows the numbers very closely.
82.
Yeah, you're right, Neil. He literally and figuratively knows the score. There might even be an understated fist bump
89.
if he does get to three figures. I would doubt it, but I wouldn't completely discount it.
$90.
Yes, he's someone that at the end of a match will scrutinise the stats which are available about his average shot times and pot success. All this stuff means things to him. It has its relevance to how his game is overall.
95.
I guess some players will just know if they feel right out there. He just looks at numbers which help him. The numbers are normally pretty impressive.
100. Neil Robertson, 100.
The concentration slipped when three figures was achieved. Neil Robertson looking mighty fine. He leads Mark Williams by 3 frames to 1. One more frame needed.
More great drama. That's a big tick from me. Trust a Trader, sponsoring ITV4 Daytime.
TrustATrader.com.
Growing up in a little red house on the edge of a forest in Norway, there were 3 things my family encouraged: kindness, honesty, and hard work. Over time, I've come to add a 4th: be curious. Be curious about the world around us, and then go. Go with an open heart, and you will find inspiration anew.
Viking, exploring the world in comfort.
I'm too sexy for my love, too sexy for my love, love's going to leave me. I'm too sexy for my shirt, too sexy for my shirt, so sexy it hurts. And I'm too sexy for my lamp. Sexy for my... I'm too sexy for my love.
When it comes to COVID testing for travel, Project Screen is a highly rated provider. We have the travel tests for you, whether it's a PCR test near you or a day 2 arrivals test. Our home test kits include next day delivery, or visit one of our local testing pods. Book today at projectscreen.co.uk. Tests are reliable, results are fast, and there is customer support along the way. Project Screen by Pronetics, getting Britain back to travel.
More great drama. That's just the job. Trust a Trader, sponsoring ITV4 Daytime.
TrustATrader.com.
In the spotlight right now, it is Neil Robertson. Just made his 800th century in professional competition to lead Mark Williams by 3 frames to 1 in this best of 7 frame match. Of those 800 centuries, Neil, 13 have come against Mark Williams.
Well, you've pulled out a bit of a stat there, Phil. Well, you must have been up very early to unearth that one. I don't know how you'd get it unless you just went through all the matches they've played with each other. Well, he needs luck. I'm not sure. I don't think anything's very easy to get to. I wonder if there's a red to the right middle. I don't think he can get to it. That's not much of a shot, really. A bit of a nothing shot. I mean, he's left an easy safety shot. If Williams was confident he'd take the red down into the left corner. Clearly, Neil Robertson played tight against the side cushion rail with the cue ball there. I don't think Neil Robertson had many options, but you wouldn't really want to leave that sort of shot for someone as good as Mark Williams to pot. You can knock them in more than you're going to miss them, so didn't achieve a great deal on his previous visit to the table with the Australian.
6. Seven.
Although he potted that red, he caught it just a little too thick. That's why the cue ball didn't come out as much as he wanted it to. Stopped on the baulk line as opposed to getting out of baulk and leaving an easier brown or green.
Very difficult shot to hold the cue ball for the red from quite a wide angle he had on the green there.
Mark Williams, 10.
Of course, next week it's the start of the UK Championship, and I think even if Williams is defeated here, he will go away with positives. Hasn't played a bad match, has he?
No, he hasn't lost yet, but I know what you're saying. It could be that the little bit of match sharpness you need at the end of frames is what he's lacking. Where you don't make little errors when you think the frame is won. However, I do think that we've seen the best of Neil Robertson in that department in this match. Played 2 brilliant frames to win them both in frames 1 and 2. Some great shots in there. Salvaged something when nothing seemed possible. But at least in the best of 7, you threw one down, you haven't lost yet. You've got a chance. And he's still in this match. Well, it was a good chance, wasn't it? We saw there, and right behind the line of the shot, it was never in.
One. Six. Seven.
I think that's the beauty of best of 7 frame matches. They're lengthy enough to be meaningful, but at no point until you're over the line do you feel safe.
$14. $15.
And of course, at the core of Williams winning the British Open was his ability to fight back.
$22. $23.
Playing the cue ball into an area where he has a few choices. That's probably
30.
precisely where he wanted to finish there. Into the middle is the most likely, just coming back down for the black. But again, as you see, he's got other options available to him, and onto the blue off this one is the way forward, it seems. Yes, he's still in the match. I mean, you know, 2-0, it looked all doom and gloom, just the way the frames had gone, but ultimately, how you lose a frame shouldn't really matter. It does. And if you can get this frame on the board, of course, he's really in there. He looks okay, I think. Don't see a lot wrong with his game.
36. Yeah, anything. Thank you. 37.
He's so relaxed,
44.
Mark Williams, and it's not put on either. It's not false bravado. That's really the way he is. Takes everything in his stride, and as I said earlier, I don't think there's anyone better equipped to deal with the twin setbacks he suffered than Williams. He's here with his good pal and former
52.
World Championship quarter-finalist Lee Walker. Saw them at breakfast and he looked in fine fettle.
Thank you. 53.
Matter of applause, because that was the one he needed for
60.
the frame to be safe, although we've been there before.
$61.
Yes, this is a pretty efficient victory in the frame this time for Williams. He wouldn't be human, Phil, if he wasn't thinking that he should have won all of the frames, bar the one, of course, with the Robertson century.
66.
In which case, you know, the match would be over, but it doesn't always work that way.
67.
Now he's chasing a century. You're quite right, Neil. Over the course of his career, particularly in his younger days, he threw away centuries. Scores of them, literally. He was of the belief, mistaken in my opinion, that making centuries expends unnecessary
74.
mental energy, and so he used to get to 75, 80, have the frame won, and then literally, indiscriminately
75.
hit the cue ball anywhere. So not making a century on purpose, if you like. He's made 530 centuries in pro competition anyway, despite that. I think had he had a different attitude early in his professional career, he would have been close to 800, the same as Robertson.
Yeah,
81.
I've got him down for about 750, something like that, that he, if he'd have really wanted to, he could have made. I think the time he probably felt, well, you know, I've got to 80, it's a crucial stage of a match, let's get the next frame started. I think that was his mindset.
$87. $88.
Old-fashioned player. Throwback Mark Williams just floats the balls around.
Well, he doesn't hit balls very hard. I mean, I think he can do. Most of these players are able to, but it shows you what you can achieve. You go to your local club and watch
92.
sort of reasonable amateur players, and they're just belting the balls as hard as they can. But when you see it played at this level, it's not really like that. Okay, the conditions
95.
are more suitable that these guys are playing on. It's a lovely table, good bed that never seems to stop. You can stroke the shots in.
99.
So this match is it's gone from one phase of it where there were frames being won tactically to break building from both of them.
104. Mark Williams, 104.
It's been a wonderful match to watch so far. It's had everything apart from a decider. Are we going to see one? Well, we'll find out after the break.
More great drama? That's a big tick from me. Trust a Trader, sponsoring ITV4 Daytime.
TrustATrader.com.
I take card now.
Ooh.
Accept all kinds of payments. No monthly costs, no binding contracts. Sum up. Make your business.
Seven, 48 and 104. He trails 3-2 nevertheless. And we've seen that break a few times. It's sparked an awful lot of debate.
Yeah, I don't know whether he just forgot about that break earlier. said at the time, you know, I mean, if you do that break to stop your opponent potting one from the break, then the man sitting in the chair against him, he's someone you surely would play that break against. Not anyone's ever potted better than Neil Robertson at long range. Anyway, that little exchange has ended. Well, he's left a long red, ironically, from that shot. Oh, just look at that. Look at that. I think the cue ball was I like the way that he played it with such confidence to land in exactly the right area to take advantage of the pot. Very often you'll see a player pot one of those but don't really get the cue ball in the appropriate place. Well, is he not on the red? Goodness me, that's a let off if that's the case. It was not a difficult cannon. But he looks so disappointed, it's hard to think he could end up walking around and being on it. Well, it's one of those, I just don't know if he can even play it with side and get round to the red. I don't think so. That is a big let-off.
Yeah, he played the shot. Initially thought he was okay, then the penny dropped.
Neil Robertson, 8.
And not the most penetrating of safeties either.
Well, that's true, but it's not as if the black will go to the right corner. He could drop this in off the cushion. It's red that he's now ignoring.
When Robertson's on form, and clearly he is right now, you don't hope he'll make a high score when he gets in. You don't think he will. You fully expect him to. And so that mistake was really surprising. A pleasant surprise for Williams, no doubt. Well, again, the red is being exposed as possible, but very difficult to do anything with this. Didn't sound great, did it? It sounded like what it was, a miscue. We saw a very significant miscue yesterday. Ryan Day, who was cruising in his match against Steve Maguire, and then a noise like that happened, which is it's horrible, isn't it? Any snooker player knows the sound.
8. Nine.
It's quite nicely played. He's low on the black, which means the option to get some reds open here is very much in his mind. Bit unlucky, perhaps, I would say. As far as some players are reluctant to go into the bunch because they know there is an element of luck. There's a lot of skill in it as well. But you can play it very skillfully but still not be on one. Both players have been in once in this frame and not achieved very much. Which I don't think we can guarantee that'll be the case going forward.
Mark Williams, 16. One.
Well, I think the key there was that Mark Williams was very happy to leave the cue ball where he did, thinking that it was very safe. What will come of that, red to the middle, I don't know, because the cue ball, as you can see, is not easy to keep the break going. Right under there, absolutely right on the cushion, so you don't see a lot of the top of the cue ball in playing this shot. The natural angle is taking the cue ball sort of fairly close to the yellow, maybe just missing it, but close. Playing it slowly like that. So in very early stages, but if he could play another good shot here, all of a sudden he could have really created a chance from absolutely nothing.
Seven.
Now, a little earlier, Williams had a shot similar to that. Didn't get the cue ball out, even though he potted the red. Robertson does get the cue ball out and has a choice now. One good positional shot here, as Neil said. It could be the beginning of the end.
Brown ball. Eleven. 12. 19. 20. 26.
Of course, the one thing you need to avoid as a professional sportsman is negativity, while Williams needs to remain in the moment and be ready to get back to the table if the situation arises.
27.
Right now, he's thinking deep down he might not get back to the table. Although this is an awkward stretch.
Yes, it wasn't quite where he wanted the cue ball. But having finished there, the cannon was on. He just caught both reds when playing that cannon, which is the reason the cue was just
33.
drifted near a cushion. I mean, it looks like it should be okay, this, but it's not quite right. Pot and position not assured on any of the reds which are available to him. That's a clever way of playing
34.
it, and that gave him position, but he had to play it so slowly so that the cue wouldn't move across to the right too far. That little shot on the red could be the one that wins him this match.
Yeah, right at the start of the break, Neil played the blue at pocket weight with the cue ball tucked under the side cushion. He played that one dead weight as well. Always an indication to me of lots of confidence.
41.
Yeah, don't forget he came to the table after Williams' safety shot, which he was pleased with. He just rolled a red to the right middle. And then that blue and all these things happened since. But it could be that what looked a fairly innocuous safety shot from Williams, it could well be his last shot, which you normally know when you've done something wrong, but I don't think he
47.
felt so.
But
He'll still need just a bit more. He's lead his 40 points, so the red of the colour after this pink. High value. Been an excellent break, this, it really has.
54.
So there you see, the remaining goes down by 8 points every time a red's potted.
55.
But now, of course, when he does pot this, then the other thing that he'll be having on his mind, and not hugely at this stage, but you know, we've had centuries in the two previous frames. A chance for another one here. Got a match to win first, and I think he's about to do that, Phil.
62.
Oh, that was to make absolutely sure.
62.
Now then, remember the first frame.
Yeah.
Is the bird going to be on the other foot?
I mean, if he drops this red in, that's it. The match is done. And the centuries count, I think, was on his mind. Well, now, you're right.
One.
This could be very interesting. It's happened to him a few times. He's been on the other end of it in this match. He's given it the frames that he's pulled out of the fire.
8. 9.
10. These players at the level we're seeing, you know, you'd fancy him quite strongly to get a snooker of some description here.
16.
He knows that there's a lot of balls he can put in the way of cue ball in the red.
Mark Williams, 16.
Well, there is a gap. Well, when you let the cue ball run loose like that, anything could happen. That green looked like it was going in the middle, didn't it? That would have been extraordinary.
For all he's won, let me tell you, Robertson's heart was in his mouth there.
One.
That's a very good shot, because now, of course, he doesn't need to keep the red on the table. He's got the red and the high value colour. He feels he probably owes him one here, doesn't he? I should think, Williams, I owe Robertson one, a frame
8.
to be won in this way. He didn't miss the pot. He went for that. He went for the
Mark
snooker.
Williams, 8.
A couple of oohs and ahs in the audience members, but that was not a missed pot. He didn't get the snooker either, though. That's the biggest problem.
So a few moments ago, Neil Robertson wanted to go out in a blaze of glory. Now he just wants to go out. Get over the line in any way, shape or form.
It's an interesting point, you know, Phil. I mean, okay, he is into the centuries and the numbers, but you know, if that was the last frame of this week to win the title, do you think he would have played it any differently? You know, would he have played on to get the century? I don't know. I think he'd have made sure that red went in. But because he's into these centuries and the count of centuries he's made, maybe that's why he played it that way. Ultimately, the red goes in, match over. Never mind the break. So that's just one thing to think about, maybe. It will only come to any questioning if somehow Williams wins this frame and somehow wins the match. He's got the snooker.
We've seen it so often in this kind of position with Mark Williams. He's like a dog with a bone. He will not let go.
He's swerving here. Again, this is an easy shot that could be missed, but he's made very good contact. But once again, the balls on the table are in a good place for getting snookers. Not this time. Well, that's one way of dealing with the problem. Opponent is chasing a snooker and put him in one yourself.
Neil Robertson, 4.
Played with the left-hand side there, but of course, at the pace he played it against the nab, it starts to go in the opposite direction.
Two. Frame in the match, Neil Robertson.
With 3 snookers required, Mark Williams concedes. You know, Mark Williams scored more points in that match than Neil Robertson, but in this game, points don't make